There is a quiet hunger in the world, too deferral, restless, cloaked in dopamine and disguise. A hunger that looks like love, sounds like passion, and walks like desire. But it is not love. It is not even real desire. It is the aching scream of a man who does not know why he was born. He scrolls, he watches, he lusts, he fantasizes. And for a moment he believes this is power, this is masculinity, this is what it means to conquer. But beneath every click is a void. A deep, bottomless pit, carved not by failure, but by the absence of something sacred. Purpose, he craves her body, not because he loves her, not because he respects her, not even because he knows her, but because it gives him a momentary escape from his own irrelevance. He seeks her curves because he cannot face his own edge. He pursues her flesh because he is terrified of meeting his own soul. The truth is brutal. When a man has no mission, he becomes addicted to pleasure. He replaces meaning with stimulation, and his hunger, insatiable, devours him from the inside out. A man without purpose is a storm without direction. He is thunder without rain, fire without warmth. He burns brightly, but only to blind himself. And so he chases women, not to connect, but to forget, to numb, to drown out the deafening silence of a life unlived. But here's the darker truth. He doesn't crave her. He craves what she represents in his broken psyche, a momentary illusion of validation. The feeling that he is enough if only for one night, one glance, one groan of approval. Her body becomes his drug, her attention his fix. But it never lasts. It was never meant to, because the problem was never her. It was always his absence from himself. Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." The modern man has forgotten this. He does not look inside. He looks at reels, timelines, avatars. He projects his loneliness outward, hoping to find salvation in seduction. But seduction without soul is self-destruction in disguise. And the market knows this. The algorithms know this. The system feeds on it. Billions are made from men who believe they're hungry for women, when in truth they are starved of mission, meaning masculinity. A generation of digital gladiators, slaying demons in games, conquering women in fantasies, achieving nothing in reality. What he does not realize, what no one tells him, is that when a man finds his purpose, truly finds it, women are no longer his obsession. He becomes too focused, too driven, too alive. Not cold, not indifferent, but rooted. He no longer needs her to validate his masculinity because his mission already did. He no longer fantasizes about being desired because purpose made him desirable. And this is when everything changes. When a man awakens, truly awakens, the world responds. His voice deepens, his presence thickens, his energy becomes heavier, slower, more grounded. Not because he's trying, but because he's no longer running. He is home. And women feel this instinctively. It is ancient, primal. They feel the man who is not seeking attention, but offering gravity, a center, a pole around which the chaos can dance. Not because he wants control, but because he is control. Not because he needs her, but because he has something greater than both of them. He no longer worships her body because he has learned to worship something higher. The mission, the work, the sacred path that calls his soul into form. This is what makes a man terrifying in the best way possible, nor his muscles, not his money, not his smooth words, but the silence inside him. The silence of a man who knows who he is and why he's here. He can love her deeply, truly, fiercely, but he does not need her to feel whole. He does not chase. He chooses. He does not beg. He blesses. He does not seduce. He summons, because he is no longer living beneath himself, no longer living beneath his potential, no longer looking for salvation in lust. He has met his soul. He has bowed before his own fire, and that fire now leads him. This is the great secret the world never tells you, that when a man is starved of purpose, his desires become twisted, his love becomes control, his attraction becomes obsession, and his masculinity becomes a costume. But when he reclaims his sacred burden, when he answers the call to become, then and only then does he stop craving her body. Because now he is building an empire she can feel. Not on sand, not on seduction, but on stone, unshakable, relentless, divine. And here is where the illusion shatters completely. Most men do not want her. They want what they think she will fix. The gaping wound of insignificance. The dread that whispers in their quiet moments, you are not enough. So they chase dopamine in the shape of a woman. They crave the moment her eyes widen, her breath shortens, her voice trembles, because in that fleeting second, they imagine themselves as powerful, chosen, valid. But power that depends on another's body is not power. It is addiction wearing a suit. It is dependency disguised as dominance. A man who lives like this is not living. He is floating an empty shell orbiting his next fix. He cannot sit in silence without grasping for stimulation. He cannot wake up without scrolling. He cannot love without conquest. And if you stripped away the screens, the likes, the fantasies, you would not find a man. You would find a boy, abandoned by his own soul. You see, this is not about women. This is about him, his disconnection from meaning, his forgetfulness of what he was made for, the sacred weight of direction. He was not born to scroll, to lust, to linger in shadow. He was born to build, to become, to transcend. But transcendence requires sacrifice. It demands the death of comfort, the death of the weak identities he built to survive the chaos of the modern world. The identity of the seducer, the player, the romantic nihilist, all masks, all distractions. He will not heal through indulgence. He will not evolve through pleasure. He will only rise through purposeful pain, the fire of discipline, the solitude of clarity, the sacrifice of his lesser self. And here's the paradox. When he stops craving her body, that's when she begins craving his essence. Because energy does not lie. A man filled with direction walks differently. His eyes hold something ancient. His presence becomes a sermon, not a sales pitch. He does not beg for her time. He carries the weight of destiny in his spine. She senses it, she leans toward it. Not because she wants to control it, but because it reminds her of her own forgotten grace. This is the dance of polarity, the sacred fire between purpose and beauty, mission and intimacy, structure and surrender. But most men will never reach it. They will live their whole lives stuck in cycles of false power, confusing attention for achievement and sexuality for sovereignty, because they never face the real dragon, the emptiness within. But for the few who dare to sit in the silence, to confront their insignificance, to bleed for something greater than themselves, those men become kings. Not because they wear crowns, but because they no longer kneel before their cravings. They are still, focused, committed. And through that commitment, they radiate something no woman can resist, not because they seek her, but because they have found themselves. So understand this. Until a man finds his mission, his desire will deceive him. Until he holds a vision greater than pleasure, he will continue to fall for illusions dressed in beauty. And until he sacrifices the boy within, the man will never be born. He craves a body because he has no altar in his soul. But the moment he builds that altar through discipline, vision, sacrifice, and fire, everything changes. Her body is no longer the goal. It is a gift. Her attention is no longer the prize. It is a reflection. And his life is no longer a chase. It is a war cry for meaning. He no longer hunts validation. He embodies presence, not because he wants to impress her, but because he's too busy becoming the kind of man who makes the gods pay attention. And once a man touches this fire, once he kneels at the altar of his own rebirth, something ancient reawakens inside him, something that has been buried beneath comfort, beneath pornography, beneath years of passivity and hollow winds. He stops moving like a beggar. He stops speaking like a fraud. He stops treating women like medicine for his brokenness. Because now he understands she is not the answer. She is not the finish line. She is not the cure for his internal decay. She is the mirror. She reflects back to him the strength of his presence or the depth of his absence. And if there is no presence, if there is no purpose, no direction, no spiritual weight behind his gaze, then all she will ever see is a hollow echo of a man who never rose. He will not impress her with clever lines or empty bravado, not for long, because deep down every woman is wired for truth. And a man who has not done the inner work cannot fake truth. He can flex, he can flash, he can flaunt, but he cannot anchor, because you cannot fake gravity. You cannot pretend to be grounded when your life is built on lust and lies. So the craving intensifies, and he chases more, consumes more, achieves less, becomes weaker, not because he is broken, but because he is distracted from the only path that could ever liberate him, the path of becoming, not becoming desirable, not becoming attractive, but becoming unshakable, to become the man who builds in silence, who walks with a mission, who is too busy crafting legacy to drown in the swamp of validation. There is nothing more magnetic than a man who is devoted to becoming not for applause, not for attention, but for the sake of his soul. Because when you live like this, she feels it. And she doesn't just want your touch, she wants your presence. She wants to belong to the mission you embody. Because you're no longer trying to conquer her body. You're inviting her into a kingdom you bled for. And that is the difference between a man who seeks comfort and a man who creates destiny. The former drowns in craving. The latter becomes the current that shapes reality. One escapes into the illusion of her. The other builds a world where she wants to stay. And the deeper truth is this: when you stop craving her body, you create a space for real intimacy to exist. Intimacy not built on fantasy, but on fire. A fire that doesn't consume. A fire that transforms. Because now, you've become the furnace. You are not seeking warmth from her touch. You are the warmth. You are not begging for her approval. You are living from approval earned in the trenches of your own discipline. You are not hoping she chooses you. You've already chosen yourself. And everything else is drawn to that light. This is not arrogance. This is not performance. This is alignment. This is what it means to live from the masculine core, where mission comes first. Mastery is non-negotiable. And woman is not an escape, but an invitation deeper into your essence. You are no longer devoured by lust because you are busy birthing vision. You are no longer addicted to her body because you've become loyal to your becoming. And the world feels this shift. Your energy disturbs the shallow. Your presence repels the performative. Your voice begins to shake the illusions out of people, because now you are alive with purpose. And in this aliveness, you begin to see everything clearly. She is not your purpose. She is the poetry written into your journey, but not the reason you walk it. She is the echo of your wholeness knot, the crutch for your wounds. She is not your escape from pain. She is the song that plays when you walk through pain with open eyes and a steady heart. And When you stop craving her body, you can finally see her soul, not as a prize to win, but as a presence to honor, because only a man who has faced the void within himself can hold space for a woman who has danced with hers. So here we are, at the edge, at the threshold where boys end and men begin. This is not about morality. This is not about being a better man. This is about being real, about reclaiming what was stolen, buried, forgotten the fire of masculine sovereignty. A man who craves her body has surrendered his throne to his lower self. But a man who reclaims his mission reclaims his crown. He does not kneel for lust. He does not chase for touch. He walks with something far more sacred direction. And direction is holy. You cannot purchase it. You cannot imitate it. You cannot fake it with tailored suits, charming lines, or desperate performances. You become it. And when you down, you sacrifice your weakness on the altar of discipline. When you say no more to the cravings that once ruled you, something in you shifts forever. You become still, unshakable, fierce. Not because you dominate, but because you refuse to be dominated by addiction, by illusion, by your own unmastered mind. You become a man who can be trusted, not only by her, but by life itself, because you have proven that you are no longer a servant of your appetites. You are no longer a prisoner of your impulses. You are a man who has gone to war with himself and won. And in this victory, in this death and rebirth, in this transformation from seeker to sovereign, you finally become what you were always meant to be. Not a man who needs her, but a man who sees her fully, clearly, soul to soul. Not as a possession, not as a performance, but as a reflection of something sacred, something you already carry. Because you do not need her to feel powerful. You are powerful because you no longer need. You are free. And from this freedom, real love becomes possible. From this power, real intimacy is born. From this stillness, the world bends. So let it burn. Let the craving die. Let the false versions of you dissolve in the fire of truth. And let the real man rise a vision in his eyes, fire in his chest, mission in his blood. No longer chasing her body, because now you're building something so holy, so magnetic, so utterly undeniable, that she will feel it in her bones and choose to stand by your side, not because you begged for her presence, but because you finally stood in yours.